There are some machines that go far beyond their role as simple transportation. They become part of a nation's memory, woven into the daily lives of ordinary people. For Americans in the 1940s and 1950s, the most familiar sight on the city streets wasn't a gleaming Cadillac or a stylish Chevrolet. It was the dependable GM Old Look bus. It didn't sparkle with chrome. It didn't look futuristic. But for nearly 2 decades, it carried the heartbeat of America's cities, faithful, rugged, and ever-present. From morning commutes to late-night rides home, these buses moved millions, becoming silent companions in an era of growth, change, and optimism. Today, we step back into that world to revisit the story of the Old Look, the workhorse that kept America moving long before the famous fishbowl ever made its debut. In the years before the Old Look, American city buses were heavy, outdated, and costly to keep on the road. The yellow coach designs that dominated the 1930s had done their job, but by the dawn of the 1940s, they were beginning to feel like relics from another era. Cities were growing, streets were filling, and people demanded transportation that was faster, more efficient, and more dependable. General Motors, already a giant in the automotive world, saw the opportunity. What if a bus could be lighter, easier to build in large numbers, and cheaper to maintain? What if it could become the backbone of public transit, carrying millions day after day without breaking down? That was the vision behind the Old Look. Introduced in 1940, the timing could not have been more perfect. America was on the edge of a world war, its cities expanding at a pace never seen before. More people were working in factories, more families were moving into urban neighborhoods, and the daily need for public transportation was exploding. The Old Look stepped in like a steady hand, reliable, practical, and ready to take on the challenge. For city transit companies, it was exactly what they needed: strong enough to handle constant service, simple enough to keep running, and efficient enough to cut operating costs. Within just a few years, the Old Look wasn't just another bus. It had become the first choice for America's busiest streets. When it first rolled onto America's streets, the Old Look immediately stood out. Not because it was flashy, but because it was so practical, so unmistakably built for the job. Its body carried the rounded, softened lines of 1940s industrial design, a shape that felt sturdy yet welcoming. There was nothing extravagant here, no sweeping fins or chrome-plated grills. Instead, it looked honest, an everyday machine built to serve. At the front, the windshield was flat and slightly angled back, giving the driver a clear, commanding view of the road ahead. That single design choice made the bus look purposeful, ready to work. On each side sat a pair of classic round headlights, simple and symmetrical, with a small grille tucked neatly below. It was a face that passengers could spot from blocks away, a sign that their ride was coming. Inside, the theme continued: efficiency over ornament. Rows of plain but functional seats lined each side, leaving a wide center aisle for quick boarding and unloading. The focus wasn't on comfort or luxury, it was on moving as many people as possible, safely and reliably. This stripped-down design became part of the Old Look's charm. It wasn't a vehicle trying to impress, it was a vehicle trying to work, and it worked exceptionally well. In its very simplicity, the Old Look captured the spirit of its era: practical, hard-working, and built to carry America forward. Beneath that simple, rounded shell, the Old Look carried a heart that was nothing short of legendary. The Detroit Diesel 671. This straight-six two-stroke diesel was already well known in heavy trucks, military vehicles, and even landing craft from World War II. Tough, loud, and nearly indestructible, it was the perfect engine for a city bus that would spend its life grinding through stop-and-go traffic day after day, year after year. Most Old Looks had their engine mounted in the rear or sometimes midship. A smart choice that did two things. It freed up space inside for more passengers, and it pushed the constant roar of the diesel farther away from the people riding. Passengers could still hear it, of course, that deep, steady rumble that seemed to echo through the steel floor. But for many, that sound became part of the city's rhythm itself. At first, the buses came with a manual gearbox, and drivers had to wrestle with heavy shifts in crowded streets. But before long, GM offered Allison automatic transmissions, which made operating the old look easier, smoother, and more efficient. Transit companies loved the change. It cut down on driver fatigue and kept schedules tight. What really sealed the old look's reputation, though, wasn't just its engine or its transmission. It was the fact that these machines were easy to maintain. Parts were plentiful, repairs were straightforward, costs stayed low. For fleet operators stretched thin, that combination was gold. And it's why the old look quickly became the workhorse of America's city streets. By the mid-1940s, the old look had become a familiar sight in nearly every corner of America. From the canyons of Manhattan to the wide boulevards of Chicago, from the sun-drenched streets of Los Angeles to small towns scattered across the Midwest, these buses stitched the country together in a way few machines ever had. They were everywhere. For school children, the old look was often the first bus they ever rode, its steel floor clanging beneath their shoes as they hurried to class. For factory workers, it was the daily ride to the plant, crowded shoulder to shoulder during the morning rush. And for housewives, it was the reliable link to the grocery store, the market, or downtown shopping. In one way or another, almost every American had taken a seat inside an Oldsmobile look. The bus became a living backdrop to the nation's post-war prosperity. Cities were booming, families were growing, and traffic was swelling to levels never seen before. In that busy, hopeful era, the old look provided something simple but essential: dependable, affordable transportation. It wasn't glamorous, but it was the backbone of urban life. Its presence was so constant that it even became part of the culture. Old looks showed up in newsreels, in black and white photographs, and in countless movies shot on city streets. For many, just seeing that rounded body and those twin headlights brought back a flood of memories, of a time when America was on the move and the bus was always waiting at the corner. From its very first year in 1940 until the end of production in 1959, the old look rolled steadily out of GM's factories. More than 38,000 were built, an astonishing number for the time, and a figure that made it one of the most widely produced transit buses in American history. For nearly 2 full decades, it carried the nation's workers, students, and families, proving itself day after day as a machine that could take the punishment of constant service and keep right on going. But by the late 1950s, America itself was changing. Highways were expanding, suburbs were spreading, and style was becoming as important as substance. Riders and city leaders alike wanted something that looked modern, that reflected the sleek confidence of a new era. The old look, dependable as it was, began to feel like a bus from yesterday. In 1959, GM answered with the new look, the bus that would soon be nicknamed the Fishbowl for its dramatic, curved windshield. With its panoramic glass and futuristic lines, the new look immediately captured attention. Practically overnight, the old look was pushed aside, its once modern profile now branded as old-fashioned. It was only then, with its successor on the streets, that people began calling it the old look. The name wasn't one GM had given it. It was simply the natural way to separate the new from the old. A reminder that even the most reliable workhorses eventually give way to the next generation. Even after production stopped, the old look refused to fade quietly into history. Across the country, thousands of these buses kept right on working, some surviving well into the 1970s. Their endurance became a testament to the ruggedness of their design and the skill of the mechanics who kept them alive. Few machines could endure such relentless daily punishment, yet the old look proved again and again that it was built to last. For many Americans, that meant the old look was not just a memory, it was part of their daily routine long after newer models appeared. Children rode them to school, veterans relied on them to get to the VA, and city dwellers trusted them for the ordinary, essential trips that make up a life. Today, only a handful remain, lovingly preserved in transportation museums or restored by private collectors. Painted once again in the colors of New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, and dozens of other cities, these buses now serve as rolling time capsules. To climb aboard one is to step back into a different America, an era of bustling sidewalks, crowded lunch counters, and the steady hum of diesel echoing down the avenue. The old look never had the glamour of the scenic cruiser, nor the futuristic sparkle of the fishbowl. But that was never the point. Its quiet strength, its simplicity, and its constant presence made it something far greater. The silent soul of America's cities, a workhorse that carried the everyday dreams of a nation through 2 unforgettable decades. The GM old look was never flashy. It never turned heads with chrome or futuristic lines. But in its quiet, steady way, it became a silent icon, woven into the daily life of an entire generation. It stood witness to the boom of America's cities, carrying millions through 2 golden decades of change, growth, and hope. What about you? Have you ever seen an old look, ridden one, or heard stories about these dependable workhorses? Share your memories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to hit like, and be sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next story of the machines that helped shape our history.